What is up, guys? We are back with the patch 12.6 patch notes for Teamfight Tactics. We have a brief little summary here. It's going to be a pretty big patch because last patch was kind of like a month-long patch, and then patch 12.7 is what the World Championship is going to be played on. But here's a summary here. We have changes to Hextech, Caitlyn, Swain, Galio, Silco, Electrocharge, and Edge of Night. They adjusted Enforcer, Zeri, and Luden's Echo. Nerfs to Malzahar, Aurelia, and Jace. Innovator Heart shared the spotlight and So Small, and then they also removed Innovator's Soul. Yeah, Innovators proved to be really strong, just because the power spikes you get from getting to either 5 or 7 Innovator can be like really game breaking, and if you don't get them, then it feels kind of bad, you know? So combat recap interface changes. You can now have hotkeys for toggling combat recap, toggling left opponent panel, and cycling between damage dealt, damage taken, and healing. That's a pretty good improvement. Onto the large changes, we have some augments, and alright, so you can no longer be offered 3 economy augments in the same round. That's definitely an improvement, because sometimes you just really want a combat one. Time to choose your first augment is being changed from 45 to 43 seconds, second and third 60 to 58, and then time to choose augments in Hyperroll 35 to 33. Did they explain why they cut off 2 seconds? Oh, it is for stuff like Recombobulator to process before next combat. Okay, pretty interesting. Next up, we have Electrocharge's damage now scales up based on the current stage, starts at stage 2 and max at stage 5, whereas in Hyperroll it'll be in stage 8. So they did nerf Electrocharge in the last patch, so they might have figured it got nerfed a little too much, so now they're gonna make it so it scales, and I actually am all on board for this. Everything that's kind of flat, such as Electrocharge, of course it's going to be better in the early game and then kind of fall off in the late game, but now it kind of gives you more options to play around with it, so to speak. So Electrocharge 1 is being changed from 60 to scale from 50, 65, 80, and 95. Electrocharge 2, 90 to 75, 95, 115, and 135. And then Electrocharge 3 is being changed from 120 to 90, 120, 150, and 180. So by the time you get to like stage 3, it's already the same power, and then after that, it's all bonus on the like icing on the cake, so to speak. So now onto Luden's Echo. This one's a reworked one, so its damage now scales up based on the current stage as well, starting at stage 2 and maxing out at stage 5. So Luden's Echo 1 is being changed from 100 to 70, 90, 110, 130. Scaling is not as extreme, so I actually think this might be a little weaker. Luden's Echo 2, 150 to 100, 125, 150, 175. Luden's Echo 3, 200 to 140, 180, 220, 160. So whenever I thought of Luden's Echo, I thought it did mainly well in the early game. So that strength is not going to be there anymore. I wonder if other augments actually outshine Luden's Echo in the late game. So this might be a slight nerf. I don't think it's anything that extreme though, because let's be real, it isn't like that big of a difference because you don't cast spells that much on most champions. But it is something to think about. Innovator Heart is being changed from silver to gold. They also removed Innovator Soul, so lots of Innovators nerfs there. Share the Spotlight Socialite bonus damage is being changed from 125% to 100%. Sorry, the bonus stat percent. And then So Small for Yordles is being changed from silver to gold. This one is the one that gave you dodge percentage. And then the dodge chance is also being increased to justify for the silver to gold nerf. And then it also makes your Yordle smaller. Okay, this is probably the best change so far for this augment there. Yeah, it's tough to say. Yordles, I feel like we're actually in a pretty good spot in the last patch, but we'll have to see what other changes they made to kind of push for this. This was like a super strong augments in Yordles. Like it is by far like one of the best ones, if not the best one. So it does make sense to nerf it because like, you don't want to just be forced into something because it's kind of like an auto win if you, not auto win, but like a pretty free game if you kind of get this type of augment if you have a good Yordle start. So they might just be doing this to bring it in line with the other Yordle specific augments. So now onto the traits. Let's check it out. Enforcer 2 and 4 piece is being changed to 3. And then the stun is being increased from 3 to 4 seconds. So this is going to make Enforcer a lot harder to splash. Yeah, so Sejuani and Vi was really easy to kind of just put in, and you kind of just always did it if you had like an extra spot or a Tactician's Crown, for example, which gives you an extra unit slot. So yeah, it was a little bit of a weird trait because it was really good because it's essentially like a free CC, but also really easy to splash because the units were actually pretty good. For example, like Jace pretty good unit. Vi, pretty good unit. You just add in an extra Enforcer to kind of get the synergy. Next up, we have Hex Tech. So this now scales up based on the number of augments in the Hex core. That makes sense thematically. So Hex Tech, bonus shield, and magic damage per augment is now 20%, and then the base shield is going to be nerfed a tiny bit to kind of compensate for that. So it's being changed from 120 to 100, 170 to 150, 340 to 300, and 600 to 400. So I'm guessing around the second augment, it's like kind of like the break even, and then afterwards it's kind of gets stronger and stronger, approximately, of course. And then the Hex Tech base magic damage is being changed from 15 to 15, 30 to 25, 60 to 50, and 120 to 80. So now onto the attack damage reduction. So I heard about this before reading these patch notes, but there is a lot of attack damage, and they're going to be nerfing pretty much everything. So we are going to take a quick look at every champion they touch. It is going to be Caitlyn, Alawi, Nocturne, Twitch, Camille, Corki, Quinn, Rek'Sai, Swain, Talon, Warwick, Zyra, Echo, Gangplank, Gnar, Lucian, Misfortune, Senna, Vex, Zac, Alistair, Draven, Aurelia, Jhin, Kha'Zix, Sivir, Vi, Jace, Jinx, Tahm Kench, and Zeri. Keep in mind, this isn't all champions, and also Zeri and Alistair got reduced by 10. Some random champs got reduced by 10, some reduced by 5. I thought they were all 5 at first, but now I'm seeing it. Some of them got touched a little more. So let's take a quick moment to think about what this is going to affect the most. So whenever you think of attack damage, you always want to amplify that with something like attack speed. So pretty much everything that's attack speed related got slightly worse. Things like Runons, things like Rageblade, all those things are going to be slightly weaker. Other things that give attack speed are traits like Challenger. So for example, Quinn got a nerf, and since she is a Challenger, which gives attack speed, all her Challenger buffs are going to be slightly weaker as well. Same with Corki because he is a twin shot. So those are the type of things you need to keep in mind. AP, which is ability power, was kind of weak compared to attack damage during this set. If you think of like the main carries of this set, it was mainly Draven, Aurelia, some of the rerolls such as like Twitch. I know I'm missing a bunch of them. Sivir was one of them. So it really was more AD dominated. The AP builds were either like Ahri or Renata, but the issue is that Renata was more of like a Morello build. I guess Malzahar is also kind of like a Morello build as well. So the APs weren't actually doing AP damage. They're mainly doing it from like itemization. So it does make sense to kind of lower everything. Is this going to also make the fights last a little longer? This set, I feel like the fights were kind of pretty quick. So if you just nerf the damage, I think theoretically fights are going to be lasting longer. So Ascension is probably going to be better, and things that like kind of scale as the fight goes on are probably going to be slightly better. We'll have to see, because we have to take a look at the other changes. Oh, wow. Aurelia got 10 attack damage nerf. That's actually quite a bit, because Aurelia's spell, I believe, scales from her attack damage as well. On to the next things. We have units, tier 1, Spear of Shojin Caitlyn Carry, make it happen. Her attack speed is being buffed from 0.75 to 0.8. Units tier 2, so Quinn, disarming assault damage is being nerfed at 3-star, and then the duration is being nerfed by half a second at every level. Seems a bit weird to do this. So Quinn was used to counter a lot of attack damage comps, but then since they nerfed a lot of the attack damage, I feel like it does lose a little bit of value, so I'm not really sure. I heard Quinn was kind of rising up in the meta kind of late in the last patch, so maybe that's why they were doing it there. So Swain's Death's hand damage is being buffed at 25 at 1-star, 50 at 2-star, and 50 at 3-star. And then the healing is also being buffed by similar amounts in the first 2 levels, and then staying at 350 at 3-star. I've not seen many Swain 3s. Whenever I think of Swain in this set, he's kind of been like that very good semi-tanky, semi-damage item holder that you use in kind of like stage 2 and stage 3, and then like sometimes early in stage 4. I feel like he's a very solid unit for that, so that should be good help for him there. Warwick, Eternal Hunger on hit. This one's being nerfed a little bit at 2 and 3-star. So Warwick reroll was, again, like, since everything else is being nerfed, Warwick reroll kind of would have been like the lone comp at the top. So I guess like nerfing him does make a lot of sense. Onto the units tier 3, Malzahar max mana nerf. He's being changed from 30 out of 60 to 50 out of 80. Okay, so okay, let's read the rest of the changes. He's getting an attack speed buff, and then his Malefic Vision's damage is being increased as well. So the reason why they're doing this is because Synaptic Mutant, which is the one that reduced the mana of all your mutants, was very good on Malzahar. Very, very good. However, on every other mutant, I don't know if it's gonna nerf it a little too hard. Um, I don't know if this is enough compensation for like every other type of Malzahar mutant build. So maybe you have to find a new carry in mutants. Maybe you just don't play mutants anymore. That is going to be pretty tough to look at in my opinion. Maybe they could have made like the mana for his first cast to be lower so he like gets his first cast off faster. I mean, he still does because the attack speed's faster, but it's not by much, you know. I wish they kind of gave him something else to kind of push up the other mutants more rather than just like a very small damage buff, because again, he was kind of like a Morello user a lot of the times. This mainly helps like the full AP build, so this one's tough to say. I just don't think the other mutants will be that great in the next patch, or like any mutant for that matter. So on to the next units tier 4. Of course, unless you find like a different mutant carry, maybe it's time to bring back Kaisa or something like that. But on to units tier 4. Aurelia, okay. Yeah, Aurelia was probably a little too strong. She's been meta pretty much the entire time. She's been either A or S tier on my tier list at bunnymuffins.lol/meta for pretty much the whole set so far, I believe. So the max mana nerf is pretty big because this causes her to use one more auto attack to kind of use her ultimate every single time. And it also gets rid of the blue buff itemization that a lot of people have been flexing on Aurelia. So what you could do is, if you get too many tiers, the item's kind of useless for attack damage builds, so you can actually utilize it by throwing it on Aurelia, because then she just auto ults, auto ults, auto ults. But now she doesn't do that anymore. So this is actually like a much bigger nerf than it kind of seems like, because it not only causes her to deal one more attack before ulting, but it also ruins one of her itemizations, which was kind of like a fixer-upper, you know? Like, you didn't want that many tiers in an attack damage build, but like if you got them, it was still like an okay thing to put on Aurelia. So yeah, it's a bigger nerf than what is seen here. So Aurelia's Blade Surge damage is also being reduced. 15 at level 1, 10 at level 2, and then 50 at level 3. And we also have to keep in mind her attack damage nerf, but they also did give her a small buff by allowing her to gain mana while crowd controlled. She had like this bug where she got like mana blocked before. So I don't know if that's enough to get through all these other nerfs, but I'd be very surprised if Aurelia was still very meta in the next patch. Very surprised. So now on to tier 5. So Galio Colossus entrance base damage is being reduced a little bit at 1 and 2 star. His percent max health is being increased, or like the percent max health damage, and then his stun duration is also being increased at level 1. So this is going to make Galio 1 much more splashable, I'd imagine, because you mainly would use him for the CC, not so much for the damage, and he kind of scales, so you don't need to itemize him as much. So I think that is a good change. I have not seen many Galios in this new set, in set 6.5. Saw him a lot in set 6, but I would like to see him a lot more. I think he's like a really cool unit. Jace Shock Blast modified 3 attacks attack damage scaling is being changed from 170 to 170, 180 to 175, and then staying the same at 500. And then the bonus attack damage is being reduced at 2 star and 3 star. Did Jace get his attack damage change from before? He did by 5, so it's just like slight nerfs to Jace. Going back to the changes, Silco Unstable Concoction buff duration is being increased as he scales up in levels. That's good. Silco Unstable Concoction explosion radius is now double the size at 3 stars. So if anyone gets 3-star Silco, that would be pretty funny to check out. Zeri bug fix. Zeri is no longer capped at 1 attack speed. So this was really funny. I don't know when this bug started, because I remember when the game came out, Rageblade was actually pretty good on her, data-wise. But apparently, like, you can't go above 1 attack speed. So if you didn't build attack speed on her, like, it was actually good. Even though attack speed's like probably one of her best stats, because she's kind of like an on-hit champion in a way. So I don't know. Like, this should help her a lot. It should make Rageblade like a lot better on her. I don't know when this started. I don't know when this happened, but it was pretty funny to see. Lightning Crash passive bonus on hit damage per bullet is being nerfed a little bit. I'm assuming that's to compensate for this bug fix, but it's pretty funny. I'd never noticed this. I don't know if you guys noticed it as well in your games, but it's a pretty big thing, because I believe like one of the more popular items on her throughout the set was like a Rage Blade. Now onto items. So Edge of Night units who are stealth can now attack and cast abilities. All right, so that should help out Edge of Night. It's not like that big, but I just never see any Edge of Nights being built, so it needs all the help it can get. I wonder if it's like hidden not bad. I wouldn't say hidden OP, but maybe it's hidden not bad and people are just avoiding it because other people aren't building it. It might be a case of that. I'm not really too sure. I'd assume it is because they would buff this item in a real way if it wasn't, right? Maybe it's not bad. I'll try to experiment with it and let you guys know. So now onto the small changes. Component grab bag can no longer grant 3 of the same components. Cybernetic shell, 30 to 25, 45 to 35, and 60 to 50 armor. And then golden egg added a tactician's crown to the 100 gold loot drop, reduced the gold amount to 75. So they are nerfing the golden egg. Why would you do that? Come on, man. Everyone loves the golden egg. Golden ticket, chance for free reroll is being buffed a little bit. And then high-end shopping, you get 8 gold instead of 5 gold now. Lifelong learning, bonus ability power when you live is being increased from 2 to 3. Rich get richer, 12 to 14 gold. Sharpshooter, twin shot, bounce, reduced damage is being changed from 60 to 66%. So even though the number gets bigger, this is actually a nerf because it's reducing the damage. Smoke bomb health threshold for activation is being increased a little bit. And then Tiny Titans no longer available on stage 4-6. Wait, really? I feel like that's when it is kind of better, right? Like this has to be when you want Tiny Titans. Maybe they thought it was too strong at that point and that's why they're removing it. Because obviously, like, you don't want this early because it kind of ruins your carousel picks. Health is generally better in the later game than early game. So, maybe it was broken. I'm not really too sure. Obviously, I liked getting it on stage 4-6, but you know, you can't always choose what you want. Titanic Force bonus attack damage from max % health is being nerfed a little bit. This was really good in like reroll comps. It's probably like a very underrated augment in my opinion. I didn't see that many people taking this, but it is really good in reroll if you ever like look at the stats. Woodland Trinket Clone Health is being increased from 300 to 360. This one was always weird to play around. I still don't know when the best time to use this augment is, especially when you compare it to like the other augments you can get. I'd probably like those a lot more than this in like on average. Radiant Relics, Golden Eggs, Future Sight option, Mistral, team-wide attack speed is being nerfed from 20% to 10%, so they're nerfing Mistral. And then now onto the traits. Innovator, Mechanical Scarab, Reflective Barrier, damage reduction is being nerfed. Interesting. So they're removing the souls, but then they're also nerfing the actual Innovator thing. The ally buff, attack damage, and ability power is also being lowered by 15. I wonder if that's too much. We're hitting Innovators in a couple of different ways. Innovator 3 Opener continues to be one of the strongest early game boards. It is, but it is really hard to get in my opinion. From there, it's too easy to hit 5 Innovators and cash in on the powerful bear while also being able to flex between multiple carries. So yeah, the multiple carry part is the strength of Innovators. But without the souls, it's going to be much harder to get 5 Innovator. Am I wrong about that? We're leaving the dragon powerful. Okay. It's going to be really hard to get the dragon. It was already like, I feel like decently hard to get. But now it's going to be probably really hard. Huh. Interesting. I don't know if I like Innovators that much anymore. Okay, whatever. Next one. Units Tier 1, Ezreal Mystic Shot boost per cast is being changed from 20% to 10%. And then Units Tier 2, Corky Bombardment damage is being nerfed a little bit at 1, 2, and 3 star. Rek'Sai, mana buff. She's going to have reduced max mana, so she gets her first cast and every cast after that a little bit faster. Sejuani is getting a 100 health buff. And then onto Units Tier 3, Vex Personal Space Shield is being nerfed at all levels by 50. I heard that they are afraid that Vex is going to be too strong, and that's why they're doing this. Maybe in their playtest they kind of discovered that. Zac Yoink damage reduction is being changed from 50% to 60%. And then onto Tier 4, Draven Spinning Axe damage is being nerfed across the board, or sorry, at 1 and 2 star. So Draven's getting attack speed damage nerf, and he's also getting his ability nerfed a little bit. I wonder if that is going to be too much. So is this going to be like an AP meta? Is everyone going to be going Ahri, Renata, and all that good stuff? I wonder. Maybe like, was Jin untouched? No, Jin got an attack damage nerf as well. I'm trying to think of all the carries that like didn't get touched, but it just seems like to be the AP champs. So sometimes when you want to even things out, you either nerf what is strong or buff what is weak. They decided to go for the nerf what is strong route. So double up, I'm going to skip double up because I don't really play it, but if you want to find someone to play with, if you don't have anyone to play with, go ahead and join my Discord at discord.gg/BunnyMuffins, and maybe you can find someone else to play with who kind of shares similar things. So mobile corner, augments are now visible at the end game screen. Bug fixes, okay, the Zeri one we already went over. Death is the cure. Renata's poison should now always properly be removed after she dies. Oh, I didn't know it was supposed to do that, I'll be honest. Lucian and Corky's attacks can now crit when the sharpshooter augment is active. Spells no longer crit without Jeweled Gauntlet when empowered by the Innovator 7 Dragon. I Am Vengeance, the True Justice Enforcer augment has returned. They removed this because there's like a bug with it, so now I'm guessing they fixed it and brought it back. Aurelia and Kha'Zix will no longer target untargetable units with their abilities. That is a good change. Corky's spell will no longer fizzle and instead find a new target if the one he was firing at died. Dude, I got so mad at this when I was playing Corky because it would happen actually very often. So they're fixing it. That is good. Double Trouble will now always grant a 2-star unit when you 3-star a unit, even if no copies are left in the pool. Dragon's Claw no longer triggers... Oh, I ran into this bug as well. Okay, so I didn't know it was a bug. Okay. Dragon's Claw no longer triggers against the first tick of Talon's ability. And then Tahm Kench will now properly spit out or digest enemies in his belly when he dies. That was always weird. Like, Tahm Kench would eat someone, he'd die, and then the champion would pop out randomly like a couple seconds later. And double up mutants without the mutant trait active no longer gain bonuses when allied units die, while being reinforced from their partner's activation of Voracious Appetite. So huge patch, honestly. Like, the AD changes, I don't think they've done something like this before. So it will be interesting to see how the meta shapes up. I feel like AP, like, obviously is going to get a lot stronger. Like, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. They did nerf Malzahar. That's like the only AP champion that they did nerf, but they mainly nerfed that only because of Synaptic Mutant. Aurelia, I don't think she's going to be played anymore. Maybe Sivir's going to be still good. Draven might still be good. But yeah, maybe we're going to see some like Ahri Supremacy or something like that. So I've heard people were playing like 6 Arcanists last patch already, so maybe they're going to keep doing that. Like, it was kind of a comp that was kind of on the rise up from what I've been hearing from some of the top challenger players. So we'll see. We'll see. Overall, again, pretty big patch. 80 nerfs being the biggest part of it. But I am going to be coming out with a meta snapshot on Friday, so if that is of interest to you, go ahead and subscribe below. And yeah, I was on vacation before, that's why I wasn't really posting, but we are back now. We're going to go and play a lot of TFT again. Also been playing like a lot of League. I've been doing a lot of things, but yeah, hope to see you guys later.